everyone, my name is Marcus and this is Jack and you're watching the Reef Nerd YouTube channel. So today we're here at Reef Galleria Aquarium and Cafe in South Melbourne and Jack's going to give us a bit of a fragging tutorial. Today we're going to be fragging two Gonipora. One of them is a big sin of mine. It's a red Gonipora that has been thoroughly neglected in my tank. It's been, for the last over a year, it's been living in total darkness under the bridge of my tank and slowly receding. And so I finally thought, oh, I better do something about it, save what's left of it. So we're going to be fragging it up and getting the living tissue separated from the dead tissue and making a few frags out of it that will hopefully recover and start growing when I put them in some actual light back in my tank. But on top of that, Jack's also pulled out a fantastic glitter goni from one of the big LPS systems here. So why don't you tell us about that one?
We've got a pretty unique glitter goni. It's like a really dark blue. Nothing that I've really seen before. It's unique. I wish that I thought I'd show you guys how to frag it up. It's a wild colony, so we're going to cut it up and share the love.
Alright, and so today for cutting up these corals, we're going to be using this diamond bandsaw by Griffin. Tell us a little bit about how this works and what the setup is here.
So today we're going to be using the Griffin diamond bandsaw. This unit is literally made for fragging corals. So the unit actually works with the salt water in the bottom of the tray. And as the bandsaw is on, as you see, we'll transport salt water up and through onto the blade. So while you're cutting coral, the coral doesn't overheat or burn or die off, and it's being sprayed with salt water continuously so it doesn't dry out either. So just minimizing the amount of harm we're doing to the coral while we're cutting it to bits. And then, the other things I've set up is just pre-soaking frag plugs, just so the air within the plug doesn't interfere with our gluing. And then just like a little rack to stand the coral on, and then we're using me coral glue today, just because it's really it's like a gel. Only need a tiny bit to glue it on, glue the coral onto the plug, and just works and sets really well. So that's why we're choosing that glue.
So you use this bandsaw for all the fragging throughout the shop. So
Correct.
Anytime you get big wild colonies that you want to cut up, you use the bandsaw for the cleanest possible cuts.
That's right, yeah. Morphs, chalice, SPS, you name it, this is what we use. Obviously, we're spending a whole day fragging. We are changing the water within this and cleaning the blade between species. We don't want hammer juice all over our gonis and vice versa. So just keeping it really sterile, because yeah, at the end of the day, you're cutting up these animals. You don't want any nasties because they will just die. Yeah.
And if a customer had a big coral that they wanted to frag themselves and maybe it was too large to be able to do without a tool such as a bandsaw, are you guys willing for customers to bring in their corals and you can help them frag them?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we can help people frag their corals if they want to bring in their large colonies. We don't charge for that service, but if it is a nice colony, maybe share the love with us for sharing the bandsaw with you, because yeah, it is a pretty expensive piece of equipment. Obviously, not every hobbyist is going to spend over $1,000 on a bandsaw just to frag some coral. But yes, we offer that service where people can come in and use it. That's fine with me.
Awesome. All right, let's get into it. Let's frag up these corals.
All right, so it's pretty hard to tell where the actual live flesh is on Marcus's goni. So we're using this Orphic torch to see where the actual coral is. So you can see there's polyps here, polyps there, tissue here. So it's kind of widespread where the actual coral is, which is quite easy for us to frag. So we might make 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 individual frags, and then tiny fragments we might put all together and just see how they go. Because every bit of coral is worth it, especially on a red goni.
Yeah, we're really putting on display my neglect of this particular coral, but hopefully we'll make up for it.
I'm sure everyone has this kind of coral in their tank where they just kind of forget about it. And then this is the goni, so it doesn't blue light doesn't do it a lot of justice, but in a whiter setting, the coral is actually quite unique and pretty, and sparkles really nicely against that navy blue.
So that's interesting. What have we found here?
So it looks like a boring clam, or a hole, or it might have been a clam. Sometimes the saw will just destroy them before you get a chance to see. But there's something in vegetable. But yeah, evidence of a boring clam maybe. Oh, here we go. What's that? Looks like a clam shell.
Maybe like a little oyster or mussel or something, or a boring clam. There's definitely something.
See the shell there, which will. There you go. You can see passage there. So that might be contributing to the goni's unhappiness. The light scenario would have as well, but sometimes not just one thing that will deteriorate coral.
Awesome. Well, we've got lots of little frags up here, so now we get to put them on plugs
and a nice little pieces there.
See what we can salvage.
So we've just cut up our little fragments of salvageable goni, and the frag plugs that we're going to be using today have been pre-soaked for about 10 minutes. You'll notice if you do pre-soak your plugs, you'll see air bubbles coming out of them. We just don't want the air bubbles between the glue and the plug, as that'll give us a weaker bond to the actual plug itself. And then before I glue the corals, I always dry the top of the plug, because the water is what's going to be setting your glue. So we don't want the glue to set on the water on top of the plug. We want the glue to set on the coral itself. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little shards of red goni. So we'll do 5 plugs there. And then a bit of glue. Only need a tiny bit. And then obviously drying the bottom of the coral for gluing, just like that.
Some of those smaller ones onto one frag.
Yeah. Put that on there if you want. Put 2 in 1 there, because these are almost individual polyps on there. And then you've got little rescued goni frags.
Alright, good stuff.
Okay, so with this goni, because we don't have dead flesh like we had on the other goni that we just did, we've just got to be strategic about how we cut it up. We're going to make sure we get the most out of the coral without damaging the least amount of polyps. So you'll see when I cut the coral, I try and choose the best aesthetically pleasing frag sizes. Try and make them as even as possible without damaging or minimizing the amount of cuts that I actually have to do, which will minimize the wear on the bandsaw, but also minimize the contact time with the coral and the bandsaw. So just before I want to cut this coral, I want to make sure that the whole coral is fully withdrawn. If it's external or open, then it will just tear through the polyps. So yeah, just give it a little shake in the water that it's holding in, then it's usually right to cut. you probably noticed that I made pretty small frags. Reason being is there wasn't a lot of room to make larger frags. Plus, I would like to, the coral is going to be here for a month before it even goes on our shelves. Because that goes for any coral that we frag in the shop. So we want to see evidence of growth and recovery. If there's no evidence of growth and recovery, we can't sell the coral, or we can't ethically sell the coral. I see a lot of SPS frags in particular that are kind of just chopped and stuck on a plug and sold, which is not really great practice. Yes, the coral most of the time will survive, but sometimes it falls off the plug, you lose the coral. So I would just like to leave that month just to show clear evidence of growth, just so the coral doesn't RTN or actually recovers. So those corals are quite small because I want them as close as the plug as possible, so they can grow along the plug and encrust the plug. And then I left the mother colony, or the rest, as neat as possible in a ball, just for extra growth and recovery, because this piece will now encrust down this side, and then this piece will come back down here. So it'll just be a nice shaped coral, a saleable coral when it does recover from fragging. So this will probably go in with the other corals for the month, and then we'll be able to sell it as a smaller colony rather than a frag.
All right, well that was really cool. Thanks for showing us how you use the bandsaw and fragging up my goni that is in dire need of some TLC, and your awesome glitter goni, which will probably be for sale, these frags, in about a month.
About a month, yeah.
Awesome. But thanks again. I hope you found this video helpful. My name is Marcus. This is Jack. And you've been watching the Reef Nerd YouTube channel. Bye for now.